From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of evenings, LA, with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In tonight's recording, direct from Santa Monica, California, breaking news on that recon of the Build Back Better Act, the CR for stimulus, and the big money and the push to get the money out the door. I have the latest details across the board and what you need to know about this recon in the face of Omicron spreading and the new concerns about an invasion potentially in Ukraine from Russia, and then the new signal that the Federal Reserve may be coming in with interest rates sooner than initially thought. We have a lot in tonight's breaking news. We're going to go over first that incredible recon that passed in the House, now in the Senate. Could the Senate get it done quicker than initially thought? I'll have the latest details tonight. The Senate changes will be robust. That'll add additional checks, including an MSC, so says the senators, on top of the recon that has at least $15,000 of checks, and repeats third stimulus across the board. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus fifth stimulus, the latest details on that in tonight's recording, with the new concern about where inflation is heading in the face of out of control issues like supply chain and labor in the face of what's going on in Omicron. Those details in tonight's recording, direct from Santa Monica, California. But we also signal about what's happening next across the board, because boy, it's a big night with a lot of details as that graphic sort of staying there and then doesn't want to leave. Leave. Get out of there. As we go into a big evening across the board, what's important for you to know is that the recon will get passed, but there's a new way to get a check out sooner rather than later. You heard it first on this channel, and we'll have more about it tonight. It's called CR for stimulus. And the push is very simplistic. Get the money out the fastest way possible. Don't necessarily have to use the Build Back Better Act. What does it mean for you? What it means for the horizon? We'll go over all that and more. Plus, everything you need to know about these checks and what you need to know going into a big end of the week and big weekend. Those details and more as we go into a big night of Evenings LA. The excitement starts right here, right now, as Evenings LA gets underway. Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope you have a great day and hope your week has been going well as well. The recon passed in the House back in November, but the Senate changes will be coming right after that. When will they be coming? I'll explain the latest details in tonight's recording. We'll go over the big programs in that recon that has at least $15,000 of checks and $45,000 of third stimulus repeating across the board before they add in an MSC. We'll be turning to student loan debt forgiveness with that graphic that simply stays and then runs. Stay there. There you go. Fifth stimulus as well coming across the board. We got a big night across the land. We're going to be turning to all this incredible details, plus the latest details on what's going on with Vladimir Putin, with the Federal Reserve, all those details and more. It's a big night with a lot of breaking news. I'm excited you're here for this brand new show tonight across the land. But first, I want you part of this incredible family. I want you part of the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. Go under this video right now and subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. And now, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. You don't want to miss a single video across the board because there is so much breaking news, both financial news and money that impacts your wallet. It's all covered on this channel daily. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member to the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. Boy, it's a big night with a lot of details. As Jay Powell is really coming in and saying, you know what? I got a lot to do here. And that working starts with the inflationary concerns. But we're going to go right into this recon tonight because the Build Back Better Act has a lot of checks in there. I want to explain to you each of these checks. 3 clusters, 3 add-ons, and then the MSC, and of course, the CR for stimulus. It's a big night with a lot of details. We're going to go over each of those checks, get a pen and paper ready, and here we rock and roll on this brand new Evenings LA broadcast starting right now with the $15,000 of checks across this recon, the Build Back Better Act. Cluster number 1 got in there, hazard pay, and that is for my essential workers. Extension of the third stimulus's earned income tax credit. You can learn about it at irs.gov. $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of care for young children. The CTC has now expired, but they seek to extend it in this recon. $500 check for the Pell Grant, the big money for the $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. They also got money for home repairs across the land. There you go. Now, the first add-on of checks comes from the illustrious Maxine Waters, and she put in there money to buy your first home. Isn't that incredible? It's just huge. Now, millions of Americans want to buy a first home but can't afford it, and so Maxine Waters got it in there. And this money would be given to the seller in your name on behalf of the federal government during the time of escrow. It's absolutely incredible. There you go. That is the first add-on of checks. Now let's go into the second cluster of checks and look and see how it gets even more delicious. In that second cluster of checks, we have paid leave. What is paid leave? Paid leave is if you have to stay home due to illness or sickness or death, unfortunately. And that money would be a lot. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $800 a week if you make $35,000 or more per year. $400 a week if you make $15,000 or more per year. How many weeks? Up to 4 to 6 weeks per year. And it's W-2 1099s. It's for all of you. Now, if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work, then they're going to get the check if they have to take off from work once a week to take you to the doctor's office. The home repairs are to weatherize your home, which then brings us to the next cluster of checks. The next add-on of checks. It comes to the incredible Bob Casey, and it is money for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. That's absolutely incredible. This is a campaign promise from Joe Biden, and Bob Casey got it in there, which tees us up now for the third cluster of checks, which is where we find true deliciousness. And it's a lot of money in that third cluster. It is seniors and free internet. Free school meals for all checks. They got in there the money for nutrition. They got in there the money for the farmers, the independent contractors, and the seniors. 2 provisions added on the House side. They're really benefits more than checks. And they are, on the House side, the Medicaid gap fix and also the hearing. But on the Senate side, they vowed to add 3 other provisions, which are dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for the course of what we're talking about when we're looking at this incredible recon, Build Back Better Act. A push to add provisions on the Senate side, and those provisions they look to add in there additionally include something you have heard on before on this channel. And what is that other provision? It is called the MSC. So what is an MSC? What does that stand for? What does it mean? Let's go over what it is, who gets it, its eligibility, its amount, its ability to get it done, its voting process, and its advocacy starting right now. MSC stands for monthly or multiple IRS stimulus check. The reason why we use the word MSC is because there are multiple checks as recon, lots of them, that pay you $50,000 to $60,000. So we need to differentiate it. This one is the one that would be going out from IRS, a monthly IRS stimulus check. Okay, who gets it? The legislators have told thousands of viewers of this channel, tens of thousands of viewers of this channel, that the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. So who got the third? Single individual, $75,000 less, got it. Married couple, $150,000 or less annual income, got it as well. Double it. Family of 4 got it as well. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or rural benefits, you get it additionally as well. The MSC, let's go over some nuances of it. It is not income. It's not taxable. It is offered across the land. Adult dependents would get it as well. One of the best and most confusing things I see on a daily basis, people think that recon money is state by state money. And they always say something like, it's not available in Arkansas. It is. Or it's not available in Mississippi. It is. This is money coming from the federal government, folks. It ain't coming from your state. So this is federal relief covered on this channel. This ain't California or Santa Monica relief covered on this channel at all. All right, so then we go to how much? That's certainly the biggest question at issue. How much is the MSC? The legislators have told tens of thousands of viewers of this channel it's $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, which then tees up the issue of how, where, when, How do you do it? When do they get it done? Why is it not done now? And is there a way to get them to do it sooner rather than later? The answer is yes to all of that. And I'm going to go over all the details of that starting right now. And this is stuff that you're only going to hear from the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, LALATE. We're going to go over all those details starting right now. Where is this legislation and what is the legislation? The legislation is called the Build Back Better Act. It's a bill passed in the House in November, sent to the Senate. We have 3 steps we have to do for something to become law in the United States. Passed by the House, passed by the Senate, signed by the President of the United States. Now, senators have an ego, House members have an ego. The senators need to have their own bill. Even if the House passes it, the senators need their own bill. Even if it is the same bill as the House one, they need to have their own bill. And what do? They generally add stuff in there, not remove stuff, because they're the same political party. So the Forced Stimulus Recon 2021 is this. I mean, this is part of my notes on the set. This is what was written and passed in the House. It's in there, passed, and ain't getting removed by the House, by the senators. Senators are going to add stuff in there because they're the same political party, Democrats of Democrats. So Bernie, Chuck, Liz, Ron, all those people said they want to add provisions to this incredible recon. Those would be Senate editions of 2022. So the next question is when? How? First step, Senate subcommittee. Why has it not happened yet? Because we have a very strange situation where they're sort of doing these dance steps, and they're not finished with the dance steps. Senate subcommittee, modifying the legislation from the House, then Senate for a floor vote on the Senate floor. The Senate floor vote happening and then it passing, but then a 2-day vote around before 48 hours at the very end. Okay, now you understand all of that. Senators vow to add a lot of provisions in there, and among the provisions they vow to add in there are, of course, the MSC. Those legislators have told tens of thousands of viewers of this channel since the month of May of 2021, it's going in there. And that's why it's important for you to advocate. But your advocacy now is a little bit different than it was a few months ago. Why? We're going to go over all those details first. We want to go over how frequently you should advocate. You should advocate once a week because those legislators need to know you still want this money. Whatever the provision is of the recon or multiple provisions you like, you need to pick up the phone and remind them because if they don't hear from you, they think you're fine and dandy. You don't need any more money, which is not the case. You need the money. So pick up the phone and advocate. Then who do you advocate to? You want to advocate to those senators. Now, if you're calling once a week, remember the senator's staffer you're speaking to. So each time you call, say, hey, it's me again. Oh, nice to meet you. Commiserate, chat, and talk about what might have changed to your livelihood in the last week or 2 months, and advocate to those senators because it's important for them to know what you need in this recon. And the people you want to advocate to are Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Advocate for the inclusion of every provision you want in that recon. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Here's what's important to know is that a phone call is a lot more than a petition. Don't let the American petition dwarf your significance to the situation. You've delivered 9 million phone calls. The American petition, only 3 million signatures. The signature, which takes all of 1 second to do, is not the same as your phone call, in which you're spending 20 minutes on the phone approximately, telling the senator's office why you need the money. You're doing a lot more work, and you should be valued for your contribution across the board. Now, when you make the phone call, don't ask, is it in there? Because the there don't exist. There is no Senate bill, so don't be asking if it's in there. Which then tees us up for really one of the most important discussions, which I just randomly brought into discussion last Saturday and is literally avalanched or created an enormous domino effect. You know what it is. You know the hashtag campaign. And it is CR for stimulus. It is hashtag the letter C, the letter R, the number 4 stimulus, STIMULUS, all together. Go on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and look for other people who are tweeting the same thing and retweet their message or Instagram reshare. What is this? It's very important to understand the situation. It brings us back to 2020. In 2020, we had seen the first stimulus package done under the Trump administration, and then we were ready for second stimulus. By about summer 2020, we first started to hear about it, and we first started to see the negotiations. For the Republicans, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary at the time. For the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, negotiating. The negotiations continue. and continue, and continue. Spring, summer, winter, and then fall of when fall comes before winter. Fall and then winter of 2020. And we said, wait a second. This has been going on a long time. Spring of 2020 to then almost December 2020. It's been going on a long time. And I was really sort of not happy with the situation. So what did I do? One night I thought back to myself. I said, you know what? Something needs to be done. This recon is not going anywhere. The negotiations ain't going anywhere. And, you know, the biggest problem at the time was urgency or deadlines or the need to get it done. It wasn't pressing. It wasn't a pressing moment. And I looked around and I thought to myself, why do we have to have a second stimulus package? Why do we have to have a package? Why can't we just put a check somewhere else? How about just putting a stimulus check somewhere else? And we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about executive orders. Not particularly easy for executive order. Everyone who always retweets something about executive order. President can't send out cash that comes from Department of Treasury unless it's some, repurposing of cash. So don't get confused about that. Number two, we always talked about standalone bill. You could always do a standalone bill, but you have to do a recon for it. It's not that easy to just do a standalone bill because you don't have Republican votes for it. So we talked about a lot of things, and finally I said to myself, there's a deadline coming up. A deadline in December 2020. The deadline was for something called a continuing resolution, has a lot of other names, CR. What is this for? It's to fund the federal government. The government needs money to operate. Run the national parks, run the federal buildings. It's not Nancy's hairstylist's salary. If it was, it would look a little bit better than that. No, it's a little bit other than that. And this is money to run the federal government. And they got to do it every few months. Well, guess what? There was a deadline coming up in December 2020. I said, you know what? This deadline, they roll it over a day or two, but they don't roll it over 3 months or 5 months. They get it done. How about we put a stimulus check into it? It seems such an obvious idea. And I thought it through and I thought to myself, this is where I'm going to get the negative pushbacks on this. And this is where I'm going to get the positive reaction to it. I knew what I was ready for and I knew what my response was going to be. So I made the recording. I pushed record and I said, you know what? Here I am. I'm LALATE and I have an idea. Put a stimulus check in the continuing resolution of December 2020. It's a budget bill that has to be done in December 2020, or the federal government defaults. We don't default as a government. And sometimes we roll it over a few days or a week or a month, but we don't roll it over 6 months. And we've been waiting for the second stimulus since spring of 2020. Does this make sense? Do you like it? Viewers loved it. And they immediately went on social media and they pushed it. It was a creation I created on this channel and viewers pushed it, the purple power of this channel. Was it going to work? Immediately, the naysayers came in, and they said exactly what I thought they were going to say. And trust me, I was ready with my response. They immediately said, a stimulus check in a continuing resolution, it doesn't belong in there. Because a continuing resolution is to fund the federal government. Why are we sending out money to the American people for a bill that is to fund the federal government? I said, you're right. I had my answer ready. I said, you're right, it doesn't belong in there. But you've been doing bills for hundreds of years where you put money in there that doesn't belong anywhere. Congress is notorious for passing bills where the money in there doesn't belong in there. And they were doing it during the pandemic. We had COVID relief bills where they're sending money to foreign governments. They were allocating money to build new buildings for the FBI. They were dedicating new funds to revamp the department's copyrights, not COVID copyrights, just copyrights. And I said, you're doing it right now. Why not do it one to send us a check? And we pushed, and you pushed. And we woke up one morning, they said, yes, we're putting stimulus into the CR. We thought, and then they said, we're putting extension of unemployment benefits. We said, no, we were not asking for extension of unemployment benefits. We were asking for a stimulus check. So we pushed more. And this is what's important to note, because remember, they often don't get the message right the first time, and you have to push again. We pushed again, and they put it in there. Then they took it out, and we pushed again, and it remained in there. And it became the second stimulus check that millions of Americans got in December of 2020 or early 2021. The $600 stimulus check sent out by the Trump administration. The idea came from this channel, and the push came from the Purple Power. It was to many, an absurd idea. It was an idea that defied logic, but based upon how Congress has often done things that makes no sense, it was consistent with their inconsistencies, and it worked. Last Saturday, I thought to myself, I have a note here that there is a deadline for a CR coming up in February 2022. Oh boy. Yeah, you can see the lighting up, can't you? Now, even if the CR is not February, but it's late February or it's early March or it's the second week of March, it's still a deadline. They don't let it lapse. They do not miss the deadline. The government doesn't default. They absolutely do it and get it done. So they can't avoid the CR. So I went on camera on last Saturday. I said, do you like the idea of doing it again? Viewers loved it. It's very obvious how eerily similar this looks to that year of 2020. We started on this channel with really the very first forced stimulus video anywhere on the internet. People were still talking about third stimulus. I made a video about forced stimulus. I even said I coined the expression. It was months before a lot of other people even got to forced stimulus. And people think it was July. It was not July. It was much earlier. I think it was at least April, may have been as early as February. Imagine how many months we've been doing this. Almost a year? Yeah. So it's even longer than Steve and Nancy from 2020. Number 2, negotiations still ongoing? Yeah. Joe and Joe. Number 3, negotiations improving? They're about the same. Number 5, need a check? Absolutely. Number 6, lots of checks? Well, leave that for the recon. Still do the recon. The concept is very simple. Send out a check in the CR and then do the recon thereafter. And viewers have liked the idea. So when you advocate to those legislators, advocate for the inclusion of that CR for stimulus as well. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over who is helping this recon, who is hurting the recon. What are those new comments from Bernie Sanders? Are the comments from Bernie Sanders consistent with what's going wrong with the Democratic Party on getting the Build Back Better Act done? It's brand new today. And I'm deeply critical of the situation. I'm going to analyze the numbers with you and analyze it in the context of Ron Klain, analyze it in the context of Bernie Sanders, and analyze it in the context of the positive messaging coming out of the White House as well. Then we'll be turning back into the big checks in this incredible recon. We have a big second half of this video. It's brand new. It's a big new Evenings LA, and I'm excited you're here. And then I have a personal message at the very end of this video. Stay with me to the very end. We have a lot of checks coming up in tonight's recording as Evenings LA continues direct from Santa Monica, California. But first, here is a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now as Evenings LA goes into the second half of your Forced Stimulus Check Update 2022. In tonight's recording, we have brand new details about Ron Klain and Bernie Sanders. Why their comments are showing that the White House and the Democrats are really not focusing well on the recon and how they have to refocus to help Americans across the board. We're going to go over the big money available under third stimulus, student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus the latest details on fifth stimulus, what's going on with Vladimir Putin, what's going on with Jay Powell, and what is going on with your money. It's a big second half. We got a lot coming up tonight, folks. Brand new stuff and a brand new night of details It's part of an extended broadcast of shows tonight. You're excited, I'm excited, but first I want you part of this incredible family. So go under this video right now and subscribe and be part of this incredible family, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. Thank you for all the incredible subscriber growth in recent days. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. And with that, let's go into what is happening with the recon tonight across the board. If you saw me on social media last night, I was reacting to a series of comments by Bernie Sanders, which when you put them in your right hand, this is my right hand, stage right, if you put them in your right hand, they're very consistent with the issues we're having a problem with Ron Klain, the president's chief of staff, in my left hand. Here's what's at issue. Ron Klain is trying to beat to only one drum, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, when he needs to beat to multiple drums, the progressive and the moderate Democrats, to get the Forced Stimulus Recon, the Build Back Better Act, passed. Because remember, there's not enough Democratic senators to control the Senate to sort of, go to lunch with some of them and never answer the phone calls from the rest of them. You can't do it. You have to make them all happy. So what did Bernie Sanders do overnight? Now, understand, I adore Bernie Sanders. Absolutely adore him. But what he did last night is exactly what's wrong with what's going on with the recon and what's wrong with Ron Klain. Bernie Sanders said in the series of comments, and actually tweets, the following message. And I'm going to analyze it with you and show you everything that's functionally wrong with it. And this is why the recon is struggling. He said that the SALT cap, which is one of these many checks or programs that send you money, in the Forced Stimulus Recon, is dead as of new negotiations. First of all, that's hideously untrue. It's just made up facts. It's like fiction. That has not happened. There has been no negotiations. The SALT cap has not been removed. And I hope you grasp the angst of a comment by him. He's basically saying the most important provision for the moderate Democrats died last night. Where did it? What happened? Was there a meeting? Was there an eraser passed out and they just erased it? No, it never happened. It's as though you wake up one morning and say, Bernie Sanders lowering the eligibility age of Medicare was thrown on the 405 freeway and driven over. That's what it feels like when he says that. So the event never happened. But for him to actually mention the provision that is really a core of the moderate Democrats is strange. Okay, but we're not done there yet. I'm going in on this tonight, folks. He said that he doesn't like the SALT cap. I got it. Let me explain what this is. Under the Trump administration, you can only deduct $10,000 of up to $10,000 of what you pay in state and local taxes on the federal tax return. Okay. The Forced Stimulus Recon raises up to $72,500. Okay, how much you can deduct? The fact that SALT cap is in there, does it hurt anything of Bernie's provisions? No. Does it take anything away from progressives? No. Does it help the moderate Democrats? Yeah, because the moderate Democrats, a lot of them are from very high taxing states like New York and New Jersey and California, where people have to pay a lot more in taxes than people in the state of Vermont. And they want to be able to deduct more than $10,000. Bernie Sanders' third comment was, and this is really where I'm going in, so get ready. Bernie Sanders says the SALT cap is horrible because it just pays lots of money to very rich people and doesn't work for the working Americans. It is not a provision that helps the working Americans. Okay, this is about as incorrect as I ever heard Bernie Sanders say anything. If you are paying $10,000 in taxes to stay in local, you ain't rich. You ain't rich. Let's use every quote from Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden about what is rich and what is not rich. If you are a married couple and you're making $150,000 a year as two people, you ain't rich. And you may be paying $11,000 in taxes. You may be paying $12,000 in taxes. And he's calling you rich? No. And so you are a working family. And bottom line is that for Bernie Sanders to be going after a provision that is definitely bread and butter moderate Democrats and has nothing negative in it for the progressive Democrats, there's nothing in this provision that hurts the progressive Democrats, is exactly why these people need to stop acting like, you insert the word. I don't want to give an adjective to it, but I think you know what it is. Jump in the live chat. This is where these people need to stop being so antagonistic to each other. It's really unacceptable. Now, the moderate Democrats are doing it to the progressives as well. I understand. They're all doing it back and forth. But this is where it gets sort of ridiculous. And if you don't know what's happening with Ron Klain, let me explain what's happening with Ron Klain. He's the president's chief of staff, and his last name is spelled Klain, Klain. He is also on Twitter. I think he has 2 Twitter accounts. And he is under fire for a series of events that are happening. Number one, not prioritizing the president's agenda. We've seen this since day one. President came into office in the middle of the pandemic with millions of Americans struggling to put ends meet on the table. And the president said, my first agenda is the climate. I will forever not forget the president did that. And I'll forever be critical of it because I can't believe a Democrat did that. It looks so inherently insensitive to people who are struggling. And in the same breath, Joe Biden says people are struggling, we need to help them. So why did you focus on the climate first, Mr. President? You should never focus on the climate first. The climate does not have to pay bills. The climate doesn't have to put food on the table. The climate did not need to be helped first. American people need to be helped first. What happened today or the last 2 days? A series of news articles, front page, and it talks about the CTC, the child tax credit, now gone. It has now been ended. And the people who got the benefit of it that really needed that extra money, put money on the table, say, why is it gone? Why is it gone? I mean, it was such a good thing. Why would you get rid of it? And that's sort of the problem of not prioritizing, because after they got it into third stimulus, they immediately started focusing on climate, running off to climate conventions and climate, and not focusing still on the American people till they were whole. All right, the next part of the equation was Ron Klain, led by certainly Brian Deese, really misprioritized who needed help. And this sounds so ridiculous, but I have to say it every single time. The White House prioritized people who are not born. Who should we prioritize in America? People who are not Americans. They're just not born yet. Oh, really? Where are they? They are UFOs? No, they're just not here with us. So where are they? Are they in the ground? No, they're just not here. But we're prioritizing them among people who are here. Oh, everything is wrong about that. I mean, down to the bare bones of the president had tons and tons and hundreds of pages that he said he was going, when elected, he was going to prioritize legislation for seniors and people on disabilities and people who are adults that have been tax-paying citizens who worked their whole lives and now the retirees. And here he comes in and says, I'm taking care of first the people who aren't born yet. Prioritizing, really wrong. I'm not to say you can't do climate, but don't do it first. All right, this is not a problem. Why is it not a problem? Because all it takes is someone to walk into that office of Ron Klain, take a shovel and say, "Oh, all this we're scooping up, we're putting it into a box, and we're closing that box up, and we'll get it to it in like a year and a half from now." So we ain't doing this now. That's a simple how you prioritize. You just take it off the table and say, "Hi, I'm Joe. I'm from the president's office. He's taking this off your desk, Mr. Klain. We're not doing this till next year." Okay, fine. I got the order. The bigger issue is what Ron Klain is doing personality-wise. He is really not understanding his role as chief of staff. His role as chief of staff is to be likable, listen to, approachable, and a unifying force among his party, at least, before we even get to the Republicans. He's done the antithesis of it. Pramila Jayapal, head of the head of the Progressive Caucus of the House, has bragged since last year that she spends so much time per day on the phone talking to Ron Klain. In the same day, you can see Joe Manchin, the other side of the Democratic Party, the moderate Democrats, saying he is the recipient of hit statements out for the White House, attacking him in his office every single day, orchestrated by Ron Klain. It's not how you do things. This is not how we do things. I've been covering this for a few days, and viewers are just shocked by it. They really are shocked. It doesn't look good. And there's one thing if you're isolating and pandering up to another one, but going after one side and it ain't going to pass the recall. This is a personality conflict, and someone needs to stop it right now. Finally, the Republican part of the equation, not important at the moment, but will be potential at a little bit later days. The President of the United States said that he's going to reach across the political spectrum, political aisle, to reach out to his Republican colleagues. And guess what? They say Ron Klain doesn't answer the phone. Ron Klain doesn't speak to them. Ron Klain won't speak to them. Won't be commiserate with them. And that's fine if that's what Ron Klain wants to do. I'm not going to tell you that that anyone under the Trump administration was hugging Democrats at any time. But you can't, as president, send out one message and do the opposite with your chief of staff. So the issue at hand is that they really need to get Ron Klain to stop going after Joe Manchin, stop going after Kristen Sinema. And here's a new part of the equation tonight, is that it's gotten him nowhere. In fact, Joe Manchin has consistently said, stop going after me. And every time you go after me, I'm going to go back into like a cat mode and really not like you and hold out more. Let's go over all these incredible provisions of recon. And then we're going to go over the economic data that's impacting them. And then we got my commentary tonight. And of course, for stimulus. We went over the salt cap. We got the cheaper prescription medication, which will start with 20 medications at day one, growing to 30 medications by the year 2028. Medicare Part B, D, and more. $40 million of job training for millions of Americans who need another job like Ron Klain. They got in there. The housing assistance. Tune into Afternoons LA, which appeared earlier today on this channel. I go into a lot on housing assistance. That money is still available today. Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. You can get thousands of dollars. I'm going to give you a little bit extra time tonight to go over some of this economic data, which is very important. They got $150 billion of in-home health care. They got the money for the Pell Grant, $550 check, the money for the nutrition, $65 per month when you're not in school for students, the $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, and then they got other monies across the board that are extenuation of third stimulus items like the hazard pay, the earned income tax credit, and more. My messaging is very important to you, that I show you the good, the strange, and the peculiar, but the messaging out of the White House is very clear from the guy at the top. His spokesperson, Andrew Bates, has said in the last 7 days that the recon will get done. And Chuck Schumer has said that the recon will get called for a vote. So that's what's important to be done, is that they believe it will get done. Now, whether or not Ron Klain needs to get modified, we will see. But the president also has been really mixed message in the last 24 hours. I think it's the last 24 hours. Actually, almost 12 hours. The president at one point said that he thought the CTC was dead under the recon. I don't know where these comments are coming from, because just minutes later, the White House backtracked, said the president misspoke. That's not what he meant. Of course, that's not what he meant, because there have been no negotiations about removing provisions from the recon. And guess what? The remove, the add, the subtract, which I covered earlier in this video, that event has not happened yet. So I'm not quite clear why it's going that direction. Now, I'm going to go over to student loan debt forgiveness. A $10,000 offer on the table. This is consistent with what we're looking with for forced stimulus. Bernie Sanders looking for the pursuit of perfection in forced stimulus recon. And Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer looking for the pursuit of perfection in student loan debt forgiveness. $10,000, they did not take it. Why not? Every time you don't take something, it doesn't get done. And why not take $10,000 and ask more money at a later date? They can. Fifth stimulus, also a very peculiar issue, because it should have already been started right by now. It still can start in the month of January. And there is a lot written by the president, whether it was to be done day one of his administration, fifth stimulus, or day two, or in the year 2022. All of it says it's to be done by now. So there's going to be a point in which people are going to say, okay, where is it? Because it really has to be done very imminently. It is one of those things that's sort of sitting there. At some point, someone's going to sort of blow up and say, wait a second, I understand you're having problems with the forced stimulus recon, but what about the assistance for SSI, SSDI, Social Security and railroad benefits, raising people's benefit ups, removing COLA, applying a new benchmark of inflation? I mean, let's understand, removing COLA and applying a benchmark of inflation, it does not need a bill. You can do that by executive order. In fact, many of the provisions of fifth stimulus, I could do a whole video on this. I have a real problem seeing why it has to go by recon. When you're modifying stuff, remember in December 2020, November 2020, your 2021, your COLA benefits went up 25% lifetime. No, SNAP benefits went up 25% lifetime. That came from the president. Came from not even executive order. It's like an executive decree. He calls up the administrator, says this is what you're going to do. It's not, sometimes not even executive order. It's even easier than this. Removing the asset cap, executive order. Removing the income cap, executive order. Removing the marriage penalty, executive order. Removing COLA, applying inflation as your new benchmark. I think you could probably get away with that as about executive order. Has the president done this analysis? What about that student loan debt forgiveness? I'm going in tonight. I'm really going in tonight. What about that student loan debt forgiveness where the education secretary was supposed to come back with the legal significance of whether you can forgive student loan debt forgiveness, and we were waiting for it? Do we ever get it? I was making videos like it's 1 week out, then it's 2 weeks out, it's 4 weeks out. I think what are we out? 33 weeks. We never heard from him. Yeah, that's why CR for stimulus is really heating up, folks, because people are taking things on the cob. And Dianne Feinstein out of California, actually, perfect graphic, San Francisco, she just epitomized what's going on with Democrats yesterday. She said, in view of the new Supreme Court nominee that needs to be done because of the retiring Breyer, she said, we'll get to this in 6 months. 6 months. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for, Senator Feinstein? You know, she's more than 80 years old. She's seeking to be reelected all the way to 2024, 2027. Like 97 years old, 94 years old. And she says we can wait another 6 months. Yeah. I can say a lot of things. I don't want to get in trouble, but I think you can make the comments in the live chat and you'll interact with each other and see the comments. Why are we waiting 6 months for someone who's been in Congress for, 5,000 years? This needs to get done. Then let's turn to what's happening with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir, what are you doing? And Jay Powell. Vladimir J. What are Vladimir and Jay doing? It sounds like an SNL sketch, but it's unfortunately not. Vladimir Putin, his threat to invade Ukraine is becoming more real and very serious by the hour. I've been covering this for several weeks, and I told you this is one of the economic data points you need to be on high alert about, because the rumor may be more significant on impacting your financial status than even the news. The rumor is whether he's invading or not invading. The news is the eventual reality of whatever happens. He never invaded or he did invade. The rumor is potentially going to go on for far more than a week, far more than potentially a few weeks. It may go on for a few months. Ukraine saying is not invading. Russia saying, you know what, I don't like the negotiations going on with Western states, and UK and NATO saying it's looking very tense. So very, very tough situation. What does it mean? Ukraine and Russia, oil impacts the oil that's at the gas pump. If oil prices get out of whack, it's another thing that could throw us into recession. It's just a very troubling time bomb of trouble that we really don't need. Then we have the inflationary concerns. The inflationary concerns are really, they were one body of concern and they're getting bigger. First, they were misdiagnosed. I had told you in spring of last year, we're going to 8% inflation December 2021, last month. And I said it was not going to be temporary. Of everyone out there, not to pat myself on the back, but I should on this one, Federal Reserve, Wall Street, they all got it wrong. They all said 1, 2, or 3% inflation, and it was going to come back down. They're really wrong. It came in last week or the week before, 7.5%, exactly what I said. It's not going to be temporary. And it's going to stay high this month. So the problem is they need to get this done quicker than later. The Federal Reserve is coming in with that interest rate spike in March. And ironically, I think Wall Street's starting to now like it because they say, you know what, the inflation we had to deal with as of Thanksgiving was one inflation. But this Omicron inflation is really troubling. You're going to see on Overnight's Crypto, if you haven't watched tonight's video, please watch it. It's a brand new show, and it really details these big economic forces and how they can hit your wallet like you've never seen. Russia, Federal Reserve, and Omicron-caused inflation. They are brand new forces that are really kicking in badly in a 30-day window. For purposes of recon, I'm putting them here. Why? I want you to know they do not take your recon off the front burner. I've done enough videos. I know people are always going to say, oh, the president ain't going to do recon. He's focused on Russia now. The president ain't going to do recon. He's focused on the Federal Reserve. No. He's focused on the recon. So that's important across the board. Finally, personal message to you. And I featured a little bit earlier today, and I want to say a little bit more of it to you right now. I can't imagine that 30 days ago today, I think I recorded a morning's LATE show live. Then, I recorded a morning's LATE show live. I think I did a noon show live. And then I said, I don't feel good. It was Christmas Day. And I thought, okay, maybe take off a few hours. And maybe I wasn't going to record much more. By the end of the day, I was already at the hospital. By the next day, I was in the hospital. And I can't believe that it's only been 30 days since that day. You've seen my transformation, and I really appreciate everything you did for me. I think that your support morally, your viewership, and this channel helped me become who I am today for many, many reasons. It was very hard making the first recording after that hospitalization. It was very hard being live. You saw it. And it was very hard when you complained about the audio problem. Yeah, and I know I messed up the audio today as well. So it's still a learning curve. But I've seen your hilarious comments from people saying, he's getting a Nike sponsorship. I'm not getting a Nike sponsorship because of that. People saying, yeah, the hair's bad, but it's not the spiky hair. I appreciate that. People are just very picky. And then people saying the poinsettia plants. He said if it's new, it's a new show if the poinsettia plants are there. But wait a second, they're in the background. So it's an old show. So that means the show tonight you're watching right now, brand new tonight, is actually from, 2001. Yeah. Because, it's just all over the place. So anyway, join me next as the shows continue throughout tonight. We have at 5 o'clock, if you're watching right now, Evenings LA brand new. Then we have Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. We have holidays or home stream cinemas at 7 o'clock. It should be a brand new show tonight. Then at 8 o'clock, Evenings Extra across the board. Message to you as well is that everything in this 2021 riding of the House recon is going to stay in there. So know it very well. Know it backwards and forwards. So someone says, is this new? Is this old? You need to know everything in that 2021 edition. Would a provision be added to the recon, between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock today? No, I mean, nothing's being added by a minute or by a second, but things are changing very, very quickly, including how to get things passed, including things that will impact how it gets passed, and including where the state of this economy is in getting it passed. And those are very, very fast-turning events. So that is why it's important to tune into every video across the board. Join me tonight as well as a big new Evenings Metaverse is airing overnight, and boys, of the big show across the board. And with that, I want you part of this incredible family, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. Like this video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay with me throughout the night as the shows continue. And then join me on overnight's LATE that starts at 9 o'clock, runs into sunrise LATE tomorrow morning. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful evening, and stay with LATE for more.